The tremor wasn't the earth shaking, it was the shattering of my carefully constructed world. It began with a text, a simple, innocuous message from an unknown number. He told me about you, about the nights, the whispers, the promises. My breath hitched, a cold fist squeezing my heart. He was Liam, my Liam, the man I'd built a life around, the man I thought knew every scar on my soul. This unknown sender, a voice that echoed with a chilling familiarity, spoke of shared intimacies, of a secret life I knew nothing about. My phone slipped from my trembling fingers, the screen a stark, accusing mirror. Suddenly, the curated narrative of my existence, the one where I was the unwavering anchor, the steadfast partner, dissolved into a grotesque parody. I'd always prided myself on my intuition, my ability to read between the lines, but this was a blindside, a brutal revelation delivered in 160 characters. I found myself navigating a labyrinth of doubt, each step echoing with the hollow sound of betrayal. Liam, my supposed sanctuary, had been weaving a tapestry of deceit, a double life I was never meant to see. The shock wasn't just the infidelity, it was the realization that I'd been living a lie, a carefully orchestrated illusion. The sender, whose name I later learned was Anya, wasn't a vengeful ex as I'd initially assumed. She was a quiet, unassuming artist, a soul as lost and bewildered as I was. We were both victims, pawns in Liam's elaborate game. But here's the first twist, the one that made my blood run cold. Anya wasn't just another woman in Liam's life. She was his sister, his estranged twin sister, and the nights, the whispers, the promises weren't romantic. They were the shared trauma of a childhood marred by a secret, a dark family history I was now unwittingly entangled in. The betrayal wasn't about love, it was about a shared pain, a bond I could never comprehend, a twisted sibling loyalty that had inadvertently dragged me into its vortex. The shock wasn't the affair itself. It was the revelation that my entire perception of Liam, of our relationship, was built on a foundation of carefully concealed secrets, a foundation that had just crumbled beneath my feet, leaving me adrift in a sea of confusion and disbelief. The aftermath was a blur of frantic phone calls, tear-streaked nights, and the desperate, clawing need to understand. Anya and I, two strangers bound by a shared betrayal, found ourselves forging an unlikely alliance. We met in a dimly lit cafe, the air thick with unspoken questions and the weight of shattered illusions. Anya, with her quiet intensity and eyes that mirrored my own bewilderment, became an unexpected confidant. We pieced together the fragments of Liam's life, the hidden corners he'd kept shrouded in darkness. The promises weren't declarations of love, but desperate pledges of protection, a pact to shield each other from the ghosts of their past. The shared nights were not romantic trysts, but whispered conversations under the cloak of darkness, a desperate attempt to find solace in each other's presence. We discovered a history of abuse, a childhood marked by a controlling and manipulative parent, a shared trauma that had forged an unbreakable, albeit twisted, bond between them. The revelation wasn't just shocking, it was a gut-wrenching understanding of the depths of their shared pain. Liam's actions, while inexcusable, began to take on a different context, a desperate attempt to protect the only person who truly understood him. The betrayal, in its twisted way, was a form of protection, a misguided attempt to shield Anya from further harm. But here's the second twist, the one that shattered my preconceived notions of everything. Anya revealed that Liam, in his desperate attempt to protect her, had fabricated a romantic narrative to keep me at arm's length, to ensure I never stumbled upon their shared history. He'd painted himself as a flawed lover, a man incapable of true commitment, hoping I'd walk away, leaving them to navigate their shared trauma alone. He had even manipulated some of my own memories, subtly altering past events to fit his crafted narrative. It wasn't just infidelity, it was a calculated manipulation, a carefully orchestrated deception designed to protect his sister and the dark secrets that bound them. The realization hit me like a physical blow. My entire relationship, the foundation of my love for Liam, was built on a lie, a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep me from the truth. The man I loved, the man I thought I knew, was a phantom, a carefully crafted persona designed to deflect, to protect, to deceive. The unraveling continued, each revelation a sharper, more agonizing twist of the knife. Anya and I, now bound by a shared sense of violation, delved deeper into the labyrinth of Liam's past. We discovered hidden journals, cryptic messages, and fragmented memories that painted a chilling picture of their childhood. The parent, a figure of authority and control, had systematically eroded their sense of self, instilling a fear so profound it permeated every aspect of their lives. Liam's actions, his lies, his manipulations were not born of malice, but of a desperate primal need to protect Anya, to shield her from the lingering shadows of their shared trauma. He constructed a wall of lies, a fortress of deception, believing it was the only way to keep her safe. The affair was a phantom, a carefully crafted illusion designed to push me away, to ensure I never became collateral damage in their ongoing battle against the past. The whispered promises, the stolen nights were not romantic encounters, but clandestine meetings, hushed conversations where they shared their fears, their pain, their shared burden. We found ourselves navigating a landscape of broken trust where every memory was tainted, every shared moment reevaluated. The man I loved was not a villain, but a wounded soul trapped in a cycle of fear and protection. Yet even understanding his motives didn't erase the pain, the betrayal that cut deep into my soul. Here's the third twist, a revelation that shifted the entire dynamic. Anya, in her own process of healing, had begun to question Liam's methods, his obsessive need to control and protect her. She started seeing the pattern of their parents' behavior mirrored in Liam's actions. He wasn't just protecting her, he was controlling her, perpetuating the cycle of abuse they both desperately sought to escape. His lies, his manipulations weren't just about shielding her from the past, they were about maintaining control, ensuring she remained dependent on him. She realized that his protection, while born of love, was also a form of imprisonment, a way to keep her tethered to their shared trauma. The realization was a devastating blow, a shattering of the illusion that Liam was her savior. He was, in his own way, a prisoner of his past, a man so consumed by fear that he couldn't see the damage he was inflicting. The revelation wasn't just about Liam's betrayal. It was about the insidious nature of trauma, its ability to warp love into something unrecognizable, something dangerous. The confrontation was inevitable, a storm brewing in the quiet tension that had settled between Anya and me. We found Liam in their childhood home, a dilapidated Victorian mansion that stood as a stark monument to their shared trauma. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, the weight of years of deception hanging heavy in the silence. Anya, her voice trembling but resolute, confronted him, her words echoing through the empty halls. She spoke of the patterns she'd recognized, the ways he'd mirrored their parents' controlling behavior, the insidious nature of his protection. Liam, his eyes filled with a desperate plea, tried to explain, to justify his actions, but his words fell on deaf ears. He spoke of his fear, his overwhelming need to shield her, but his explanations sounded hollow, empty echoes of the justifications their parent had used for years. The realization that he had become the very thing he sought to protect her from was a crushing blow, a stark reflection of the cyclical nature of trauma. I watched, a silent observer, as their shared history unfolded, a twisted tapestry of love, fear, and control. The man I loved was lost, trapped in a labyrinth of his own making, unable to distinguish between protection and possession. The love he offered was a cage, a gilded prison built on lies and manipulation. The fourth twist came, a moment that altered the entire trajectory of our lives. Anya, in her newfound clarity, decided to break the cycle, to confront the ghosts of their past head-on. She decided to reclaim their childhood home, to transform it from a monument of trauma into a sanctuary of healing. She wanted to create a space where others like them could find solace and support, a place where the wounds of the past could be addressed, not buried. She did not want to cut Liam off, but wanted him to heal with her, to confront his own trauma. The home was to be a place of healing for both of them and for others. This action, this act of defiance, was a declaration of independence, a reclaiming of their narrative. It was a bold step, a courageous act of self-preservation, and an attempt to give Liam a chance to truly heal. It was also a rejection of the idea that victims are forever defined by their trauma. It was a powerful act of love, not just for herself, but for her brother and for all those who had suffered in silence. The confrontation was not about condemnation, it was about liberation, about breaking free from the chains of the past. The transformation of the Victorian house began, a slow, arduous process of reclaiming space and rewriting history. Anya, with her artist's eye, began to infuse the decaying structure with light and color, transforming it from a symbol of oppression into a beacon of hope. We worked together, Anya, Liam, and I, a strange, unlikely trio bound by shared pain and a fragile, nascent hope. Liam, initially resistant, slowly began to open up, to confront the demons he'd kept buried for so long. He started attending therapy, his defenses crumbling as he faced the reality of his actions, the damage he'd inflicted. The lovers that were never to be now became the builders of a new reality. The house, once a monument to their shared trauma, became a sanctuary, a place where survivors of abuse could find solace, support, and a path to healing. The strangers that we were, Anya and I, became sisters in a way, bonded by a unique and painful experience. The surprise of my life was not the betrayal, but the unexpected strength I found within myself, the resilience I discovered in the face of unimaginable pain. The final twist, the one that redefined everything, was the realization that my journey wasn't about Liam or his betrayal or even about Anya's healing. It was about me. It was about discovering my own capacity for love, not the romantic, possessive love I'd mistaken for devotion, but a deeper, more profound love, a love that embraced empathy, forgiveness, and the power of human connection. It was about learning to love myself, to heal the wounds I didn't even know I carried. The best surprise of my life wasn't finding a romantic partner, but finding a family, a community, a shared understanding that transcended romantic love. The journey from betrayal to healing, from strangers to a unique, unbreakable bond, was the true love story. The title, From Strangers to Lovers, Our Love Was the Best Surprise of My Life, wasn't about romantic love at all. It was about the love found in shared humanity, the love that blooms in the face of adversity, the love that rebuilds shattered lives. It was about the love that transforms strangers into family, a love that heals, a love that surprises, a love that truly endures.